What is up, guys? Rick Cactus here. Thank you so much for stopping by, and today we are going to be taking a look at the 5 worst exotic armor pieces for the Titan in Destiny 2. These are things that just stand above the rest as seeing basically zero PvE or PvP play. Now keep in mind, however, this is my opinion. If you are kicking butt with one of these exotics, don't let me change that. But there are probably better options out there. In any event, if you guys think that there are other exotics that deserve to be on this list, let me know in the comments section down below. The hope is that we can get enough attention to these so that Bungie will buff them and increase the variety of gameplay within Destiny 2. So, let's get started. But just before we do, if you're looking to upgrade your headset, I'm partnered with ASTRO. Click the link in the description down below. It's going to automatically apply a code allowing you to save some money and help the channel out. Definition of a win-win. Alright, now let's get started here, and keep in mind these aren't in a particular order. With an old vanilla Destiny exotic chest piece, the Actium War Rig. This has the intrinsic exotic perk Auto-Loading Link. Steadily reloads a portion of your equipped auto rifle's magazine from reserves. That's it. And right away you can kind of see why this is pretty underwhelming. Firstly, you don't even get to shoot infinitely. Like, I'm using an actual good auto rifle, the Breakneck. This is one of the old pinnacle weapons for Gambit. Like, this is one of the best auto rifles out there. And so this is something that it would actually be worth combining with the Actium War Rig to get it as powerful as possible. And even then, you still run out of ammo. Like, it doesn't reload your magazine fast enough that you can just keep shooting it. You will have to reload every once in a while. Of course, you're going to be reloading a lot less than you normally would, but that is a definite downside. I mean, if I just put out a Titan Rally Barricade, I'm going to shoot literally infinitely as long as it lasts. If I just have the Actium War Rig, I will have to reload, and that's it. I mean, we're just talking about reloads here. I've mentioned reloads and shooting infinitely, and that's all I'm gonna mention because it doesn't do anything else. It doesn't increase your auto rifle's stability. It doesn't give you more reserve ammunition. It doesn't increase the damage. It doesn't do anything else. It just affects the reload. It just makes it shoot longer. And that is just not good enough when compared to so many other exotics that are increasing your damage output, your melee lunge range, some of those at the same time with the syncoseps, so this is just falling behind. Now, how can Bungie improve this? What's a buff that could actually make the Actium War Rig good? Well, if you messed with damage, that would be very dangerous for PvP, but I think you could mess with damage a little bit before it's too crazy in PvP. I would prefer adding the Breakneck's ability, which is to, every time you get a kill, it increases in rate of fire. Well, why not have that somewhat added to Auto-Loading Link, so that the longer you shot your auto rifle, the higher the rate of fire would go. So you could ramp up and eventually you could be outputting a significant amount of damage with auto rifles. Now, another idea that's definitely a bit more dangerous is make it affect every weapon, not just auto rifles. Of course, you'd have to slow down how often it reloads from reserves, but if it also hit hand cannons, rocket launchers, grenade launchers, this could actually be pretty darn good. And I think mostly its utility would be in PvE, where you need to shoot your entire magazine and more at enemies before you kill them. Now, moving on from there, at number 4, we have an exotic that I hesitated putting on this list because I honestly enjoy using it sometimes, but it is the Dune Marcher's exotic leg armor. So, this has the exotic intrinsic perk Linear Actuators. Increases sprint speed. Sprinting builds up a static charge. After melee attacking an enemy, that charge will chain damage to nearby enemies. And you can see that effect in the background gameplay. I run around, I melee a goblin, and then after a little bit of a time delay, you see that electric shock come out and kill other nearby goblins. Now, that's actually pretty good. I mean, I just killed, 4 enemies with a single punch? There's gotta be some utility there. And there kinda is. It is fun running around on strikes and so on, and then just decimating enemies, low-level enemies with linear actuators. But that's the point. It's low-level enemies. Dune Marchers doesn't actually do anything to increase your melee damage. you are just going to be doing your normal melee. It does actually work if you do a shoulder strike, like you'll shoulder strike, kill a bunch of enemies, and then it will still chain after that fact. But if you don't have shoulder strike, again, it's just a normal punch, so you're only going to kill the most baseline of enemies, and that electric shock that comes out, it doesn't do a lot of damage either. So again, it's only affecting those baseline enemies. The Dune Marchers is great at killing the lowest of the low, the least health enemies in Destiny 2, the red bars. But like, you don't really need help killing those guys. You can kill a group of goblins with a couple of shots of a weapon with Firefly. You don't need to use an exotic leg armor to get those guys dead. Any primary weapon, heck, a grenade launcher in the special slot, that's gonna instant kill all those guys just as easily. So that part of the exotic is just providing something that you don't really need. It's cool, but you don't need it. Now the other part, the increased sprint speed, that can be useful, to be honest, but it's not enough to give you a significant advantage. If it was a little bit faster, we could be seriously talking and there might be some PvP applications. But as it is now, you almost never see these. There's just other more powerful exotics out there. Now, in terms of buffs that would actually make this thing see a lot more play, well, firstly, anything to increase that initial melee damage to make that chain actually do more damage so that if you do get the chain off, it can severely hurt, more powerful red bars. As it is right now, you won't even kill like a harpy with it. But if it actually killed those harpies and did significant damage to mages nearby and stuff like that, yeah, we could actually have a little bit of utility going on there. But as long as it doesn't affect melee damage and the damage of that chain is as low as it is, it's not going to see play. In terms of sprint speed, heck, you up that sprint speed even just a little bit and this thing is suddenly going to become a major player in PvP. That's a little bit dangerous, but you could easily do that and bring the Dune Marchers to the front of the top tier exotics if you really wanted to. Now, moving on from there, at number 3, we have the Ashen Wake exotic gauntlets from Warmind. These have the exotic intrinsic perk, Bring the Heat. Fusion grenades now explode on impact and gain increased throw speed. So, admittedly, this does have extremely niche PvP applications. Turning your sticky grenade into an instant impact explosive grenade can actually be quite useful. The problem is that it is extremely niche and it's not a pure upgrade. Yes, some people may prefer the instant explosion, but taking away the magnetism is actually going to give you a few downsides. For example, magnetic grenades, which fusion grenades are one of, will actually deviate from their path and stick to targets. Well, if you take that away, it'll just miss that target, whereas before it would maybe curve and stick to them. Not to mention, in PvE, they have almost no application, and for the grenade enhancing exotics, these have pretty much the most minor effect out there. I mean, look at the Shinobu's Vow exotic gauntlets for the Hunter. Not only do they improve skip grenades, but they give you 2 of them. So it's pretty clear disadvantage when compared to some of its counterparts. And therefore, to buff the Ashen Wakes, all you need to do is have them give you 2 fusion grenade charges. That would actually give it a lot of PvP application especially, and even in PvE, getting 2 grenades can be very useful. Running them when there's the Grenadier modifier active would be a legitimate thing people would start to do. Now, moving on from there, at number 2, we have another pair of exotic gauntlets, the Eon Safe from Curse of Osiris. These have the exotic intrinsic perk, Eon Energy. Summoning a barricade grants the following to nearby Eon cult members: grenade energy to warlocks, melee energy to titans, and dodge energy to hunters. Other allies receive a fraction of the shared energy. So, although I'm using these exotics in the background gameplay, you won't be able to notice like any effects, and that's because you are affecting allies, and therefore that's one of the biggest downsides. You can't give yourself really any more melee energy by putting down barricades. You'll see me try to do that, and if you do, it's like so minor you don't even notice. So if you're a solo player, these are just a completely wasted exotic slot. You need to convince your teammates to also use this pretty underwhelming exotic, because unless you're warlocks, because grenade energy is actually pretty useful, melee energy and dodge energy are just nowhere near as good as grenade energy. And we found that out during the Revelry, when you could have increased grenade, melee, or class ability energy. Guess what? Everyone went into the Crucible and just picked grenade energy and spammed Shinobu's Vow double skip grenades like 40 times a match, 40 times a minute a match. So grenade energy compared to those other two is just overwhelmingly more powerful. They cannot be balanced the same, and therefore, even if you do convince other fireteam members to use the Eon Safes, you as a Titan are getting kind of the short end of the stick with melee energy. Not to mention that you only get these effects for doing something, for casting your barricade or your other teammates doing something else. You don't just statically get more melee energy if your other teammates had these equipped. If you did, it would actually have some utility, but you don't. So you have to like improve the charge rate of your class ability so you can use your class ability more just to charge your allies' other abilities, and they've got to do the same to you. So there's a non-bow going on there. The Eon Safes, it's a cool idea, buffing your allies, but it just did not work out. It's not balanced properly, and the Titan gets one of the worst of the three buffs. Okay, so moving on from there, in the number 1 slot, and the previous again were in no particular order, but I do think number 1 is truly the worst, we have the Eternal Warrior Exotic Helmet from Warmind. This has the exotic intrinsic perk Resolute. Gain an overshield when activating Fists of Havoc. That's it. But I mean, that has some utility, right? What makes this so bad? Well, like a lot of other exotics, this came from Destiny 1. And in Destiny 1, Fists of Havoc was so much different than it is right now. And these still weren't that amazing, didn't see a ton of play in D1, but they were a lot more useful. Why? Well, Fists of Havoc used to be a one and done ability. You would slam once. So you were often going for those insane multi-kill slams. If there was 4 people on the C flag, you were running right at them, jumping in the air and trying to get all of them. So you needed as much survivability as you could possibly get. In Destiny 2, that doesn't happen that often anymore. Because you have a roaming super now, you'll often kill 1 or 2 enemies with that first slam, and then you'll just run and dodge with your shoulder strike and make your way to that C flag. You're a lot harder to kill when you're already in your super and shoulder striking left and right, dodging around and running faster than normal on top of that. And on top of that, your survivability in your super right now in Destiny 2 is kind of insane. You're almost impossible to kill. You don't need more survivability on top of your already insane survivability. Now, Bungie has said that they are going to be nerfing how powerful you are in roaming supers, so perhaps this will see more play at a later date, but probably not that much. It also doesn't help that the way people play is so much different in Destiny 2 as well. A lot of people, when they hear a super activate, they realize it's a losing battle. They'll just turn and run, and they won't team shot you, so you really don't need that overshield. So, how can Bungie buff these? Well, just make it have some more impact on your Fist of Havoc super. Perhaps take the Geomeg Stabilizer's exotic ability that increases your super recharge when you're sprinting or doing whatever once you've reached, 80% charge. A little bit faster Fist of Havoc recharge. Perhaps make Fists of Havoc last a little bit longer. Now, although Bottom Tree Striker is insane and it lasts arguably too long already, but why not make that initial slam deal 2 to 3 times more damage? Just that first slam. That's not going to make it incredibly overpowered in PvP. Maybe you'll get more super kills with it. And by that, I mean killing other Guardians and their supers more often, but that's not too insane because the other slams after that wouldn't have that effect. In PvE, however, that could be really interesting. That would significantly increase the damage output against a singleton target. Right now in PvE, these are just a great ad clearing super. That would actually give it more utility as a boss damage super, and in fact, it would combine very well with the helmet's current ability of giving you an overshield, because if you are slamming a boss, you're going to need to be able to tank those boss slams back at you, so that would actually synergize quite well. In any event, guys, that is it for what I believe are the 5 worst Titan exotics out there. Again, if you think more deserve to be on this list, or you think I was too harsh on certain exotics, let me know in the comment section down below. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, found it interesting, and if you did, please remember to help me out by simply rating and especially sharing this video. If you guys want to see more Destiny 2 content, be sure to slap that subscribe button. If you guys want to get in touch with me and keep up to date with the latest channel activity, the best way is to follow me on Twitter at RickKakis. That's linked in the description down below. Again, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good day.